My name's Glyn Pooley, and I'd like to talk about art. This time, my subject is
Banksy. Now, one of the most famous mural painters of recent times is our Banksy. Okay, now he came out of the Bristol mural scene, and I suppose he was inspired by the mural artists of New York in the 1980s. Jean Basquiat was an artist that he kind of admired, that went out and painted on the subway trains at the time, and they kind of took risks to put artworks in all kinds of unusual places. Now, Banksy's very clever in his work because it's very clear. There's often a sense of humour in it, but there's a social commentary going on it as well. And this one made me smile. This poor old child who's obviously got no one likes him, no friends, etc., etc., and he's screaming his head off at that kind of case. Style is important with Banksy as well. Now, he started off painting his murals like Ed did, hand painted pieces like that, take ages. Trouble is, if you're going to make handmade paintings like that, the chances are you could get caught, which is not what you want to get if you're going to make images which are going to be questioning. And in the Bristol scene, the artists were getting so much hassle from the police in the end that they had to find another way to make art more quickly. And Banksy evolved this kind of stencil method because of it. At the time, in the Bristol scene, they were supported by quite a visionary youth club leader, actually, in one of the rougher areas of Bristol that no one wanted to go to. And he gave over his youth club to these different artists and said, well, go on, put on whatever you want. And then that brought the artists together, the mural artists together. And then Banksy got working with some of them, and then he evolved into this. But he always had an edge, Banksy, and he's done some tremendous stuff. But you can see how he's broken his image into just a few colours that can be put on very, very quickly, as he's done with this one. Now, a number of you probably recognise this picture. It was done by Banksy, and it was gifted to the people of Port Talbot, which is ironic, really. It's a fascinating image. As you can see, it's just done on the side of a breeze block garage. And if you put your hand over the left-hand side of the garage there, where you've got the skip with the fire in, of course, put your hand over that. The right-hand side looks as if there's a boy out enjoying the snow coming down and just taking snowdrops into his tub, having a good time. But of course, then when you reveal what's happening on the left-hand side, is coming from that burnt-out skip. And this picture, of course, was made with the backdrop of Port Talbot Steelworks and all the pollution which is coming across there, and how that affects the community. It's interesting because Banksy's got such a strong reputation now that the art world basically has hijacked his work in so many ways. When he started, he didn't want to be paid with his work, and he just put it out for next to nothing. But it just got commercialized more and more and more. People were ripping off the work to get to this point where his works are worth hundreds of thousands plus now for some of his work. Here, he gifted this to the people of Port Talbot to go and see it. The garage owner, of course, sells it off, doesn't he? And they say, oh, well, we'll put it in a local place so people can see for a while. And then it whiffs off up into some gallery in London or wherever, and it's been sold for hundreds of thousands of pounds again, which gives you an insight into how powerful mural images can be. Now, Banksy was very clever always in his placement of the mural. This one, flower thrower, it's better than throwing Molotov cocktails, as they call them, full of flames. Here he's throwing flowers. It's that very interesting dichotomy again about there's a community that is struggling, that's frustrating, and the answer often with Banksy is to throw or share love at the situation. In this case, it's the flowers. It's a dichotomy of an iconic kind of figure. This person, obviously, there's so many reference to certain riots that people would see, or imagery of way the hand is, etc., salutes. But then the flowers make all the difference. It's about questioning your thought process. So he does that with this one. And this iconic image as well. The little girl with a balloon and the lost love. So the innocence goes off into another world or another place. But once you've seen that image, you don't forget it. And that's important with a mural. The clearer you are about what you want to say, the better. Clear about what you want to say in it. Keep it simple. That helps a lot as well. And think about the placement of it. Those things will make an artwork which is very, very strong. And this was one where Banksy got to hear about the council's decision to paint over all these images, Black Lives Matter imagery there, and he turned up and made his little. That's the Banksy contribution in the left-hand corner. Someone employed by the council graying over the whole the image there. Ironically, as soon as Banksy gets involved, thousands go and have a look at it. It gets lots of publicity, and the council look really stupid. These can happen. It draws attention even more strongly to the image. Now, I suppose what we're talking about with mural art here is something which has been coined street art in the 21st century. It's the first major art movement of the 21st century. In the 20th century, as we know, we've covered a lot of them. We talked about a whole host of isms, didn't we? From Fauvism, Cubism, Surrealism, blah, blah, blah. That kind of died out at the end of the 20th century, fewer. But then we get to the 21st century, and you think, well, what have you got? Well, the major one that you've got in the 21st century is street art, okay? Now, street art is interesting because it's a democratic art form, as we said. It can be made by anyone, can be placed anywhere. But it brings ordinary people into conflict with the authorities more and more. And we're seeing that being played out all around the world now, where these murals are going up and certain authorities kind of stamping on it. But that gives us a very interesting debate, and it makes art very lively, which is what's needed. Creativity sparks so many dimensions then of thought, which is what needs to happen to keep air going through our creative process. You can have fun with murals as well. As I said, they're not all big political statements. They're about overcoming things, yes, but they're also about entertaining. They're about uplifting. They're about sharing and just making the world a brighter place, a more interesting, intriguing place to be in. And that kind of does it there.
And selling for $860. Yeah, if you could maybe get one of the technicians quickly to go and take it over there, that'd be great. Quickly. Okay, we're moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move on here.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell notification.